Pause for a moment, listen to this thought. Most people spend their lives being quietly controlled. Not by chains, not by force, but by subtle psychological pressures so invisible, they mistake them for their own thoughts. People obey opinions they never questioned. They follow emotional impulses that were crafted by someone else. They shrink themselves because they fear disapproval, and they call it being polite. Most people never realize the truth. You are either influencing or being influenced. There is no neutral state. And those who fail to understand this become puppets in other people's stories. Today, we are going to tear that illusion apart. Because hidden beneath centuries of political maneuvering, beneath the strategies of emperors, generals, philosophers, and kings, lies a psychological framework so powerful that when you internalize it, you become almost impossible to control. This is the psychology of self-possession, the internal discipline that Machiavelli admired, the mental sovereignty described by Jung as individuation, the quiet, cold certainty Robert Greene calls the center of gravity. If you learn these principles, you will not become reckless. You will become unshakable. So listen closely, because what you're about to hear is the difference between being effortlessly controlled and becoming the person no one can manipulate. The core idea. At the heart of this philosophy is a brutal truth. Control works only on people who don't know themselves. If someone can predict your reactions, they can control you. If someone can trigger your emotions, they can steer you. If someone can make you fear their disappointment, they already own your mind. Machiavelli warned princes to never show their weaknesses. Not because vulnerability is wrong, but because predictability is fatal. People try to control what they can read, but what they cannot read, what they cannot understand, what they cannot anticipate, they fear, they respect, and ultimately, they leave alone. This video reveals the psychology behind that power. Not the power to dominate others, but the power to remain sovereign in a world that constantly tries to bend you. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Master your internal weather. The easiest way to control a person is to control their emotions. Anger, fear, guilt, validation, approval. These are the levers that move the masses. Most people have no emotional discipline. They react automatically to criticism, to attention, to rejection, to praise. And that predictability makes them slaves. Here's the truth Machiavelli understood. If someone can trigger you, they can rule you. So your first task is simple but difficult. Become emotionally opaque. Learn to slow your reactions. Not suppress, just slow. The moment between stimulus and response is where true power is born. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Your emotional reactions are the unconscious. Your awareness is the gatekeeper. When someone tries to provoke you, pause, observe, detach. Let them swing at shadows. Because the person who cannot be provoked cannot be controlled. Affirmation. I do not react on command. My emotions move only for me. Lesson 2. Kill the need for external approval. The most common control mechanism in human psychology is the desire to be liked. Entire societies run on it. Companies, friendships, families, governments. Approval is the world's softest leash and the hardest one to see. If you live for validation, you will be governed by anyone who can withhold it. Machiavelli famously wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But the modern version is this: it is better to be self-approved than approval-addicted. Because when you need constant reassurance, when you crave acceptance, others will sense it instantly. Predators smell neediness. Manipulators thrive on it. Even well-meaning people will unconsciously use it to shape you. So what is the antidote? Indifference. Not coldness. Not cruelty. Just a quiet internal truth. You do not need them to like you in order to be yourself. Here's the scenario. Imagine you walk into a room, knowing that nothing they think can raise or lower your value. You become free. And ironically, People become more drawn to you because psychological sovereignty is magnetically attractive. Affirmation. I release the need to be liked. Approval has no power over me. Lesson 3. Control the frame or be controlled by it. Most conflicts are not about facts or opinions. They're about frames, the invisible perspectives that determine how reality is interpreted. Whoever defines the frame controls the meaning, and whoever controls the meaning controls the outcome. For example, if someone says, "Why are you so sensitive?" they're not asking a question. They're establishing a frame in which you are the problem. If you defend yourself, you accept their frame, and the moment you enter it, you are controlled. Here is Machiavelli's wisdom applied to modern psychology. Never fight inside another person's frame. Redefine the situation instead. Someone challenges you, you shift the angle. Someone insults you, you respond with neutrality and leave their jab hanging in the air, empty. Someone tries to position themselves above you, you answer in a way that equalizes or reverses the dynamic. Frames are invisible battlegrounds. Those who ignore them lose by default. Those who understand them become impossible to psychologically corner. Affirmation. I define the frame. I define the terms. My reality is my own. Lesson 4. Be unreadable, not mysterious. Many people misunderstand the idea of being hard to read. They try to act mysterious, vague, or cryptic. That's not power. That's confusion. True psychological sovereignty comes from this principle. Your emotional world is private, but your actions are clear and intentional. Unreadability is not about hiding everything. It's about hiding the things that can be used against you. Your hopes, your insecurities, your soft spots, your triggers, your attachments. These are the pressure points that manipulators look for when people cannot guess what motivates you or what bothers you. Their usual control strategies collapse. Here's a scenario. Imagine two people. One reacts instantly to every shift in tone. The other listens, pauses, thinks, and gives a measured response. Who do you respect more? Who do you fear offending? Who seems harder to manipulate? Exactly. Still waters run deep, and deep waters cannot be navigated by outsiders. Affirmation. My inner world is mine alone. I reveal only what I choose. Lesson 5. The power of strategic silence. Silence is feared by the insecure and mastered by the powerful. Most people cannot tolerate silence. They rush to fill it. They reveal things they shouldn't. They expose their intentions, their emotions, their weaknesses, all because they fear the discomfort of stillness. But silence is not empty. Silence is information. Silence is control. Robert Greene wrote, "When you say less than necessary, you inevitably appear greater and more powerful." Why? Because when you speak, you reveal your mind. But when you stay silent, other people reveal theirs. Strategic silence does three things. 1. It forces others to expose their real motives. People fill silence with what they're thinking most intensely. 2. It disrupts manipulation attempts. Manipulators rely on emotional reactions. Silence gives them none. 3. It signals quiet confidence. Only someone who feels internally grounded can stay silent under pressure. Think of negotiations, confrontations, arguments. The person who can maintain silence controls the rhythm of the conversation, not by force, but by presence. This is one of the oldest tools in psychological strategy. It is not aggressive. It is not hostile. It is simply commanding. Affirmation. My silence is strength. I speak with intention, not impulse. Lesson 6. Never compete for attention. Here's an uncomfortable truth. People who crave attention are the easiest to manipulate. They can be steered with praise, shaken with criticism, bought with flattery, controlled with rejection. Machiavelli warned rulers to avoid becoming dependent on the people's affection. He understood that the crowd is fickle. and anyone who relies on approval must constantly bow to the shifting winds of public opinion. To become psychologically untouchable, you must adopt the opposite mindset. Stop competing for attention. Start commanding respect. Attention-seeking is external. Respect-building is internal. Attention-seeking throws your value into the hands of others. It makes you perform. It makes you chase. It makes you bend. But respect-building comes from competence, self-discipline, calmness, integrity, consistency, composure. People may overlook the loud, but they never overlook the centered. Think of the quiet professional who enters a room and instantly shifts the atmosphere. They're not trying to be seen. They are seen. Because true power doesn't need an audience. Creates one. Affirmation. I do not chase attention. I radiate presence. Lesson 7. Be comfortable being the villain in other people's stories. Here is one of the hardest psychological truths. You must accept if you want sovereignty. Some people will misunderstand you, no matter what you do, and that misunderstanding will cause them to cast you as the villain. Maybe because you set boundaries. Maybe because you told the truth. Maybe because you refused to be controlled. Or maybe because your growth highlighted their stagnation. Weak people cannot accept personal responsibility, so they create narratives that protect their ego. And in those narratives, you will sometimes be the enemy. The powerless try to avoid this at all costs. They bend, soften, explain, justify, apologize, not because they are wrong, but because they are afraid of being disliked. But the psychologically sovereign individual accepts an uncomfortable but liberating truth. You cannot control how others perceive you, and you should not try. This doesn't mean being cruel. It means being unafraid of misunderstanding. The Roman philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not waste time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Let others interpret your actions however they wish. Their stories are theirs to carry, not yours to correct." Affirmation. I release the need to be the hero in every story. I choose integrity over image. Lesson 8. Control your pace, not theirs. Here is a psychological tactic that mentally strong people use instinctively. They move at their own pace and refuse to be rushed. Why is this so powerful? Because urgency is one of the primary tools of manipulation. When someone wants to control you, they push you to act quickly. They demand instant answers. They pressure you to react without thinking. Urgency bypasses logic. It triggers survival instincts. It forces compliance. But when you slow down, when you refuse to be rushed, the power dynamic reverses instantly. You regain clarity. You regain perspective. You regain control. Think of how predators hunt. They create pressure. They create panic. They remove your ability to think. But when you stay calm under pressure, their tactics fail. Machiavelli advised leaders to never act from desperation. Desperation makes you predictable. Predictability makes you vulnerable. Move with deliberation. Speak with intention. Decide on your timeline, not theirs. Your pace is your power. Affirmation. I refuse to be rushed. My decisions follow my timing. Lesson 9. Never explain more than necessary. Explanations feel safe. They feel polite. They feel clarifying. But over-explaining rarely comes from confidence. Comes from fear. The fear of being misunderstood, judged, questioned, or rejected. The more you explain, the more you reveal your insecurities. And the more you reveal your insecurities, the easier you are to influence. Here is a principle used by leaders, thinkers, and strategists. Throughout history, state your reasoning once. State your boundary once. State your decision once. Then stop. Silence after a clear statement is more powerful than 10 paragraphs of justification. It signals confidence. It signals conviction. It signals that you do not need approval to stand by your choices. This doesn't mean being rude. It means being concise. Clarity is strength. Brevity is authority. Excess explanation is weakness disguised as politeness. Affirmation. My clarity is enough. I do not justify my truth repeatedly. Lesson 10. Know your values better than others know their opinions. At the core of psychological sovereignty lies one essential principle. You must know who you are, more deeply than others know who they want you to be. Most people live by borrowed values. Their beliefs come from society. Their desires come from culture. Their fears come from childhood. Their choices come from pressure. When you lack internal direction, you become easy to steer. But when your values are consciously chosen, when you have examined what truly matters to you, you become immovable. Jung called this the self, the highest form of psychological development. It is the moment when you stop performing and start living from inner truth. Here's the key. Your values must guide your actions, not other people's reactions. Because opinions change, trends change, crowds change. But values, true values, are unshakable. And a person who acts from inner principle cannot be manipulated through external noise. Affirmation. My values guide me. No opinion can override my inner compass. Lesson 11. Identify people's motives, not their words. Most people listen to what others say, but powerful individuals listen to what others want. Words can lie, tone can deceive, behavior can be manipulated. But motives are the true currency of human psychology. Machiavelli wrote, men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. In modern terms, people believe appearances more than intentions. But you must operate differently. You must learn to see through the surface. Ask yourself silently, what does this person gain from this? What outcome benefits them? What fear or desire is driving their behavior? Once you identify motives, several things happen. 1. Manipulation becomes transparent, because all manipulation is motive-driven. 2. You stop personalizing behavior. People's actions say more about their internal world than about you. 3. You respond strategically instead of emotionally. You address the deeper intention, not the superficial words. For example, someone criticizes you repeatedly. Maybe they seek control. Maybe they fear your independence. Maybe they need to elevate themselves. Someone showers you with praise. Maybe they want trust. Maybe they want access. Maybe they want leverage. Someone is overly helpful. Maybe they want connection. Maybe they want obligation. When you understand motives, you understand power. Because a person who sees the invisible cannot be blindsided. Affirmation. I see motives clearly. Words cannot mislead me. Lesson 12. Do not reveal your strategy until it's too late to stop you. There is a psychological law, rarely spoken but universally practiced by the most strategic minds in history. Reveal your plans only after they can no longer be opposed. People sabotage what they envy. They resist what they don't understand. They fear what threatens their comfort. If you announce your goals too early, you invite interference. You give your critics time to gather. You give your doubters time to infect your confidence. But when your actions are already in motion, when progress is tangible, opposition becomes irrelevant. This principle appears everywhere: military strategy, corporate negotiations, political campaigns, personal reinvention, even creative pursuits. Greene calls it the power of the finished form. People respect results. They question dreams. So move quietly, plan privately, execute silently, then appear suddenly with something undeniable. This is not secrecy from fear. It is secrecy from wisdom. Affirmation. My plans unfold in silence. My results speak for me. Lesson 13. Master the art of detachment. Detachment is one of the most misunderstood concepts. In all of psychology, people think it means being emotionless. No, detachment means being unowned by your emotions. It means you feel deeply, but choose consciously. You care, but you don't cling. You love, but you don't lose yourself. You engage, but you don't depend. The person who cannot detach is the easiest to control, because attachment creates fear. Fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of change. And fear is the primary lever of manipulation. Detach from outcomes. Detach from other people's opinions. Detach from the need to be perfect. Detach from the illusion of control. Detach from the timeline you expected life to follow. When you practice detachment, you gain freedom. Freedom to act with clarity. Freedom to walk away. Freedom to choose differently. Freedom to respond rather than react. In Eastern philosophy, detachment is the root of inner peace. In Western psychology, it is the root of emotional intelligence. In Machiavellian strategy, it is the root of unshakable power. Affirmation: I am attached to nothing that can be used against me. Lesson 14. Cultivate a reputation for self-control. There is a reason. Emperors, generals, and philosophers emphasized self-control above all virtues. People cannot control those who can control themselves. When others realize, you cannot be provoked, you cannot be manipulated by praise, you cannot be destabilized by fear, you cannot be guilt-tripped, you cannot be baited into chaos, they stop trying. Because manipulation is expensive energy, people abandon tactics that consistently fail. Your self-control is a psychological shield. Protects your time. Protects your mental clarity. It protects your power. The Stoics called this the fortress within. Build a reputation, not through declarations, but through action. Let people observe that you don't lash out, you don't overshare, you don't spiral, you don't chase, you don't fold. This reputation becomes armor. It discourages predators, confuses manipulators, commands respect from observers. Self-control is not repression. It is self-mastery. Affirmation: my self-control is my armor. My discipline is my power. Lesson 15. Understand the cost of your peace. The final truth is the one most people never face. Psychological freedom has a cost, and few are willing to pay it. To become impossible to control, you must sacrifice certain comforts. The comfort of being liked by everyone. The comfort of instant emotional gratification. The comfort of avoiding confrontation. The comfort of predictable identity. The comfort of social approval. The comfort of living as you've always lived. Freedom requires strength. Strength requires discipline. Discipline requires sacrifice. Machiavelli wrote, "Fortune favors the bold, but psychological fortune favors the self-controlled." Some people will accuse you of being cold. Some will say you've changed. Some will feel threatened by your clarity. That is the price of peace, because your peace is not cheap. Your self-possession is not accidental. Your sovereignty is not granted by others. It is earned. And once you earn it, you never give it back. Affirmation: my peace is sacred. My sovereignty is non-negotiable. Conclusion: you now understand the hidden psychology that makes someone nearly impossible to control. But knowledge without integration is powerless. The final part of this script will weave everything together into a unified philosophy that you can carry into your daily life. If you found value here, support the channel so we can continue creating long-form psychological content like this. Like the video, subscribe for more, and comment your favorite lesson below. Your engagement helps us reach more people seeking mental strength, clarity, and self-mastery. And remember, your mind is the throne of your life. Guard it ruthlessly, shape it deliberately, and never ever hand it over to anyone else. This is how you become impossible to control. Machiavelli.